Hi, y'all. I'm Joe, your host and cannabis lifestyle guide. And today I'm super excited to be sharing the podcast stage with the one and only Joe Dolce. Actually, I can't say that. There's an Australian
That's
musician.
another one. There is. Yeah.
Well, cannabis's favorite Joe Dolce. How about that?
I love you.
It's so good to have you here today. And, we're both writers, podcasters, editors, travelers, citizen scientists. So I feel like we could really talk about pretty much anything today.
And we're both named Joe.
Yes.
So
Yes.
let's go, Joe. Let's go, Joe. Take it away.
Obvious. Yes. So, I really think it would be fun to just start out talking about us living our lives as an experiment because, we both are curious doers. And, the fact that Brave New Weed is actually a book that we can all read because you got super curious about cannabis.
How about the fact that I got a publishing house called HarperCollins to pay me to travel around the world to write the book, research and write the book?
Yes, triple high five. That is my work is play lifestyle like dream goal.
That is, that's a good goal to have. I got to tell you, it was a wonderful opportunity. And honestly, you're right. It was driven by curiosity. It was the realization that I was of a certain age and I had been using this plant on and off, more on than off at many points in my life. And I really still didn't know what it was. And this was, I think I started this in 2013. All right.
So
and the world was different then. Yeah.
And what was your age at that point?
I'm not telling you, but older than you. Let's put it that way.
Well, you don't know how old I am either.
I know I'm older than you. Okay.
Well, I ask because not that it's polite, because I don't do a lot of things that are polite, but because I think it's important for people to understand that you can start very, very new curious journeys, no matter what your age.
I was somewhere in my 50s. Let's put it that way. And had been through a career as a magazine editor. Remember magazines? And as a journalist, and I really thought it was time to give all the people I knew that use cannabis a reason, because back then, honestly, I mean, it seems like eons ago, right? People were using it. Nobody knew anything about it. The word strain was a new idea. There were no measurements of anything. You could never say there were this many milligrams in that edible. It was sort of eat this brownie. What's in it? Oh, I don't know. I followed the recipe. And then, it was either going to be good or it was going to be, you're going to be cowering in a corner all night long. So it really was an opportunity to go out there and try to learn so much about what the plant is and what we knew about it and what I certainly didn't know about it, which was mostly, I didn't know much about it.
Well, and for me, it was because I recognized I was using it differently than my friends and my peers, and I was having a positive experience, yet feeling like that stoner label didn't match the experience I was having, and I wanted to defend my lifestyle. And in order to do that, I needed to educate myself.
Yeah, I think that's right. As a matter of fact, on the back of my book, it says Joe Dolce is a blah, 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 and he is not a stoner. Because at this point in my life, I'm not a stoner. I have been. I've waked and baked for many years. I know what it's like. But, I think what's interesting and that not that many people are talking about, or that I don't know what we're talking about, is that, as you age or as you change in your life, your use changes. And it's completely fine. It's completely acceptable. You roll with it. Like right now, I'm not smoking much. I had a lung infection last year in COVID, and you don't want to be coughing in the middle of COVID. Let me tell you, you're not going to have many friends on the street. Whoever is left on the street, really, you part them as you go down.
It was funny. I'm going to interrupt you because there was a meme running around here in California during that time. And it was like 3 Spider-Men facing off. And one of them was like wildfire cough. One of them was like, cannabis cough. One of them was like COVID cough. Like, you couldn't go outside and cough without freaking anybody out. And there was 1,000 reasons why we were coughing here in California.
I know. There were, exactly. Smoke. Oh, my friends are outside. See you. I'll call you later.
Hi, friends. Thanks.
Hi, friends. Anyway, so I use edibles now, mostly, and very happily, as a matter of fact.
I like the instant gratification of being able to, smoke cannabis. But I think it's fun consuming edibles because my high sneaks up on me. And
Yeah.
it's like you're like, "Oh,
Well,
hi
here it
friend.
is.
There
Hi,
you
hi.
are."
You know what I love also are drinkables. I mean, I live in New York, so we don't get that much access to it, but obviously I travel a lot and I try to sample wherever I am. And I was in California, as I said last year, and trying a lot of these drinkables. I love them because they came on quickly, they lasted for an hour, and then boom, you're clear. Drive home.
Yeah.
No, it didn't build. It was such a nice experience. I
Yeah,
thought.
I
You use them?
really, really love the drinkables. And what I'm appreciating is that they continue to refine because it's a competitive market. And
Oh
so
yeah.
now I can find some that have like, less than 5 grams of sugar in them. I had one the other day that had like 2. And that's been unheard of before because they used sugar to mask the taste or the bitterness, I should say, of the cannabis.
Well, I like this one thing called High Hops that's made by Canacraft. Have you tried it?
Oh, yeah.
It's
Yeah,
that
that's my
mix of
girl.
it's Lagunitas
Yes,
and with cannabis oils that are very refined. So they
yeah,
very little taste, and
yeah.
it's
I liked it
it's
so much that I reached out to the CEO of the company, and I was like, "I need one of your refrigerators full of hi-fi hops in my studio so I can share this amazing beverage with my friends."
Dennis. Did he comply?
Yes, yes.
He's a very nice guy, and it's a very nice beverage. I have to say, it tastes like Fresca without the shit. You know.
Well, and the humulene, the hops is, to me, last night I had one of the Lagunitas hops water. So it's doesn't have cannabis or alcohol because I was at a concert. And it literally tastes exactly the same. I mean, to me, I just think it's a lighter, more refreshing beer that doesn't
Well,
make me feel
yeah,
heavy. It's
yeah.
all
It doesn't. It doesn't.
yeah.
They're crazy not to be marketing it to women, frankly.
Yeah.
I told all this. It's like it has no calories, guys. It's
Well,
like, are
but
you
then
nuts?
when you think about marketing in the cannabis world, it's such a tricky thing. And, in social media, a lot of that stuff ends up getting shadow banned. And so, they don't know how much of their stuff is actually getting to their market. It's ridiculous. That's one of the what is it? Hamstringing properties of being, federally illegal.
Yes, it is.
So that's a bummer. So cannabis infused travel is a huge part of it was a huge part of my life and yours when things were moving around. Do
Yeah.
you have like a favorite memory or character upon your travels when you were making or creating Brave New Weed?
Oh, many, very many. I mean, I spent time on a farm in Northern California, which was fantastic, with the farmer and his then girlfriend, now wife. It was the Happy Days farm.
Yes.
I just called him up and I said, "Hey, I want to come up and see what you're growing." And they said, "Okay, come up and we have a bed for you, and you can come here." And that was, I'm not a farmer, so that was really fun. I loved being in Tel Aviv, even though now bombs are raining upon it. But it was interesting in Israel because Jerusalem is this very conservative, religious, I thought very somber place. I've always thought that. It's never been my favorite place. But then Tel Aviv is on the sea and it's this bubbly place. And there's a cloud of cannabis over the whole city. And I was so surprised. I hadn't been in Israel in a long time, 20 years or so. And I was really surprised to see it taking off like that. That was really fun. And
Well, and
honestly, go on.
well, no,
Please.
that's hard to imagine. Still, like I know that Israel is the hub of
Of
cannabis
research.
research,
Yeah.
but I didn't even, I was curious what that cannabis lifestyle was like there. So what did you experience of it?
Well, the people I met were using a lot of cannabis and enjoying it. And it almost seemed like it was two different countries. Honestly, I mean, there was no prohibition about using it at all. And it's a city on the sea. So it just
Yeah.
sort of, it makes sense, you know,
Yeah.
just makes sense. What else? I had such a good time doing the whole book, really. I mean, really, my very first port of call was in Denver with
Yeah.
this great guy called Adam Dunn, who was at that time sort of the center of this hash making scene that I had just stumbled into. I had no idea. I didn't know what a dab was. I didn't know what shatter was. I just didn't know any of the stuff that they were making, and it was just amazing. I was there. They were completely open with me, and it wasn't quite legal. It was
Yeah.
just on the precipice of legality. They were like, just come in. We're going to tell you everything. We're going to show you all around. And that was just when Denver was starting. So these little companies, which are now mega companies, were just beginning, like Dixie Brands or Incredibles chocolate. They were doing it out of a kitchen in a restaurant, basically. So it was really fun to sort of walk into a scene that you knew was going to be something, and also that you knew you had the best access you could ever get as a journalist.
Right. And the fact that there was something about you that they trusted to let you in and, have this view of it. I love that, being able to have that experience that, somebody would pay $1 million to have, and somebody's giving you access to tell their story. That's so
I
fun.
know. Maybe we should start the cannabis tour guide business. I need another new business to start, right?
Well,
But
that's part
but
of
it's
what
really
I
fun.
do
But it's
with
really
this.
fun.
Yeah,
Do
with
you?
my cannabis lifestyle guide stuff. I do, Zoom or in-person meetings helping people, but I've started booking for this summer, the very first ones on July 15th, like one-on-one and small group experiences in the wine and weed country.
Wow, where are you going?
Well, I'm taking people to some working cannabis farms, being able to walk them through, a dispensary in Oakland, California, and then another one in Sebastopol, California.
I've been to both of them.
Yes.
I've been to them. Yeah.
And, giving them a choice. Would you like to, wake, bake, meditate, and move energy with me in the morning? If you want to participate in my cannabis lifestyle, then bring it on. We're starting at 6:30, and, taking people on hikes through the redwoods or along the coast, and just personalizing it based on someone's needs. And my first guest is traveling from North Carolina, and she's sober, living a sober lifestyle, and is fascinated and can't wait to try drinkables and wants to explore the California sober lifestyle. So,
Have you done? I love that, California sober. Have you done forest bathing?
I have not done forest bathing. Tell me.
Try it. It's fantastic. It's a sense. It's like a sensory meditation, and cannabis goes perfectly with it. You basically, the last place I did it was in Point Reyes, California. Right? Beautiful place on earth. And we took a walk. I actually did it with a forest bathing guide. And you slow everything down a lot. You listen, you smell, you see, you look for small things.
Mm-hmm.
You look for tiny things. It's a way of focusing attention and just changing the way you see the world. It's not broad focus, it's super narrow focus.
Yeah.
It's a really interesting experience. There's a lot of books, not a lot. There's a few books written about it. They're titled things like forest bathing. It was started in Japan, but for executives to actually help them de-stress and calm down because they were so high strung, and they took them into nature and had them focus on tiny things. And metabolically, they could physically see how their stress levels, all sorts of levels they were measuring, just dropped.
Yeah.
And they all felt better and more whole and more human. And it's now become a beautiful thing. I highly recommend you explore it. If you look at Point Reyes, there's a nice bunch of walks you can do, and you can hire a forest bathing guide for a very reasonable amount of money to take you through the experience. See what you think of it.
Yeah, when you first said it, I was like, do I have to be naked?
You don't, and that would be okay for me. That would be a great thing. But no, you're pretty much in public. on that?
Well, as you told the story, became very clear to me. But yeah, I think I do that naturally when I get high and I get
Yes.
outside. But to do that intentionally and really measure what's happening with my body, that's some nerdy shit I'm into. I like
It's
that.
great. One of the things I learned in writing the book, many things. One of the many things I learned was that I think if you're going to say, what does cannabis do? One of the main things it does is it increases your receptivity. If you allow it, right?
Exactly.
So I try to allow that because I don't want to grow into an old, ossified, unreceptive human, right?
Yes.
I want to stay receptive to the world around me, to people, to emotions, to smells,
Yes. And
to
that's such
good.
a beautiful way to say it. Like, I want to stay receptive. Like, that makes sense to someone.
It does to me, and I think cannabis does have that effect. I
It
really do. It
absolutely
really does. Obviously, you have to open to it, but once you do, I think it's apparent, and
well, and
it's one of the great things about it.
yes, and it's for me, that's been the catalyst of the curiosity and, the think it, do it kind of a thing. Like, I get inspired to take the next step and to learn something or to dive deeper into something like cannabis. I say to people, cannabis is my co-pilot. I wouldn't
Yeah,
be
that's nice.
living the life I do if, I didn't have that little cheerleader, you know, edging me on. But you talked earlier about the evolution of our relationship with cannabis, and mine has become way more refined because I grew up in, Texas, where, it's few and far between, and you don't talk about it, it's all in the closet. And then, I moved to California, to a legal state, and was able to be more sophisticated and intentional with my relationship. And then, more things arrive on the market and there's different consumption methods. And so I feel like my relationship is constantly changing with cannabis. And, you mentioned the that you had transitioned from smoking to now being an edibles guy, but where did your journey start with cannabis?
I like that you're calling it a relationship because I think it can be considered a relationship, and that's what helps me change and evolve with it, right? Because like a lot of relationships, they're going to change over time. Like
Yeah.
if I was still smoking the amount of weed that I smoked when I was in my 20s, I mean, I just couldn't do what I do today. There's just no doubt about it, right? And it has a very different effect. When did it start with me? Very young, probably around 13 or 14, as a gay teenager who had no idea he was gay and knew that he was in the wrong place, New Jersey, but didn't know anything about why he was in the wrong place or how the hell he was going to get out of it. So there was like some anxiety, I think, that I was just keeping at bay. And that's how it started. And don't forget, cannabis was super weak at the time. It wasn't nearly as potent or interesting as it is today. So, but I was just using it, I think, just to sort of block certain feelings and just power through, get through, basically, right?
Yeah.
And then when I was in college, I a lot. I mean, I got through Northwestern University with a lot of cannabis. And then after that as well. So I would say I used a lot up until maybe my early 30s. And then it started tapering. And that is when cannabis also started getting much stronger. Different things came into the market, right? Different strains were coming into the country. And growers were really doing amazing things. They were really putting things together, selecting for stronger, more potent varieties, right?
Yeah, they were flexing their creative muscles in those garages.
They sure were. And there was things like Thai stick, which we don't get much of anymore, or Sensimilla was a big deal. That was cannabis without seeds in it, right? It was crazy. It was just fun. I mean, I remember being a teenager and taking out an album cover. This is how old I am, okay? And you actually took a card or a credit card and you scooped the cannabis to one side so all the seeds and stems fell out of it. I mean, can you imagine today, right? You wouldn't even have it in your in your house, let alone use it. Anyway.
Well, and I got the shitty brickweed in Texas for a while.
You did. Yeah, I'll bet
where
you did.
You didn't even know what a flower looked like. You're like, if somebody called it flower, I would say, I don't know why you call it that.
Yeah, exactly. It was the same. It was the same idea. Like, I think we started the way a lot of people started.
Yeah.
Very minimally, simply getting what we could get.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think for me too, it was by just consuming a little bit of it, I didn't have that numb out effect. I had the like conscious awareness effect. And so for me, it became just very intriguing to smoke and just kind of like observe my surroundings, because all of a sudden they seemed so different.
Yes.
And my friends would say, come on, like, and I just would pass in the circle, and, I would get teased and made fun of, but I was just like, I think I'm having a better experience than you are.
You're having your own experience, right?
Yes. There you go.
What are you liking these days? What are you using?
Well, I am a sun-grown flower girl whenever it comes to my flower. And,
Nice.
but I like the OGs, the berry flavors, like that kind of stuff is my jam. The fruitier, the better. But, like you, I work from home, and I'm creating in the same space that I, live in next door. And I was just feeling like I was smoking way too much. And so for the past 9 months, I have been experimenting using other entheogens, like, I've been microdosing ayahuasca, and it's the ayahuasca vine, so it's not psychoactive. And, trying that during the day instead of smoking so much, so that I didn't have that nasty smoker's cough when I'm trying to interview a guest, or, forget my guest's name. That would suck. I have the gene for short-term memory loss. So if I smoke too much, I'm in trouble. So like this, it's just a little tincture. Whoa, that light.
Can't see that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just a little tincture that I leave in the refrigerator, put like 5 drops under my tongue. And that's been helping me keep that low level anxiety that I have all the time at bay. Before that, I was microdosing my mushrooms. These are 0.25 grams each, and I was taking one every 4th day, along with niacin and dopamine to, help increase the speed across the blood-brain barrier and just kind of make it more effective. And it was working, except I was moving energy by yawning a lot. And so then here I would be trying to interview someone, and I'm fighting back this huge yawn. And then I was starting to get an aversion to my screen, which makes sense. Mushrooms want you to be outside in nature, put your feet in the dirt. And I was trying to take it and do the job of a digital journalist at this point. And so, yeah, it's been interesting to find different ways to find my daily rhythm. But the one thing that I'm having fun experimenting with my cannabis is I'm blending in a little bit of this stuff called mullein leaf.
Yeah.
They're just like, it's these furry little leaves. I was at a friend's house, and she was heading over to get a tour of this herbalist's home garden. And I saw this beautiful furry, leafed plant. And I just was like, do you mind if I touch that? And, I'm just kind of admiring it and, soaking it in. And she said, if you have a smoker's cough, this stuff is great to just grind up a little bit in your bowl. And I've been doing that the last several weeks, and I don't taste a thing. It doesn't, change the flavor. And I don't have like these crunchy coughs that can be pretty gnarly. It's just, normal phlegmy smoker's cough, but it's big deal. People with earaches and stuff, I think this stuff is good for that. But the coughing and the congestion piece, it's pretty spot on.
Great. Good.
Yeah. What are you experimenting with these days?
I'm using, so let me see if I can show you this. These are, can you see that?
It's the same with me. Okay, Night something bakery.
Night Kitchen Bakery. A friend of mine in California makes these edibles. They're called Ginger Snaps, Ginja. I did an interview with him on the Brave New Weed podcast a week ago, so you can listen to it if you want to know about it. And he's very interesting. He's an elder, and he's an old lefty, and he obviously quit working a bunch of years ago, began growing, and then began extracting. And he started with infusion and then moved to extraction over the period of a year or two. And he began baking these ginger snaps, and they're beautiful edibles. He grows this is made from flour, not trim. They're 25 milligrams per cookie. So I cut them up into different pieces depending on where I want to go, basically.
Yeah.
And they're beautiful. They're dynamic. They taste delicious. I use them for everything from sex to sleep and just hanging around outside as well. They're really my favorite edible. And the great thing is he doesn't do them as a business. His line is, this is a mitzvah, not a business. A mitzvah is Hebrew for blessing. And you contribute some amount of money, and he'll put you on his mailing list, and you will get a batch of 10 cookies in the mail at a very reasonable price. And I've never had an edible as delicious or as satisfying or as potent and as reasonable as this.
I am in, Joe. That is a hot tip.
You've got to you've got to go to the Brave New Weed podcast and listen to, I think it's episode 107. And at the very end of the podcast, there's a way that you can get onto Chris's mailing list.
Yes, I'm in. I'm going to check it out. Now, I will tell you that my favorite cannabis-infused ginger snap that I've ever had was made by my friend Dorianne Steinberg.
I know Dorianne. Isn't she great?
She told me to tell you hello.
Oh my gosh, she's from Canada. I love her so much. Actually, we met in Tel Aviv, Israel, in a hotel.
Oh my God.
At a cannabis conference.
I love it.
She's a lovely person, as is her husband, Dick, and they've been friends ever since. And that is one of the great things about the world of cannabis, is that when you connect with somebody, it's a strong connection.
Yes.
There's this interesting bond that we share. But she's not still making edibles, is she?
She does her own little thing she works with elderly patients.
Yes.
They have their medical prescription, and then she makes their stuff for them.
She's fabulous that way.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, out of the love of her heart, and to help people. Yeah.
And it's, if somebody has, they need, low glycemic, like she'll come up with a new recipe for somebody if they need something special. Like
I love that.
She's magic.
I love that. No, I think she's great that way. And Chris is the same way. And it's funny, they're both making ginger snaps, isn't it?
Yes. I mean, those are such good cookies, and they just remind me of being a kid too. So I don't know. I'm in. I'm listening to that show as soon as we hang up.
Oh, great. Thank you. See what you think anyway.
Yes. So when you're not being this, podcasting writer, you're also helping people make informed decisions about cannabis, which, I do that with my cannabis lifestyle coaching, but you're doing that through the Medical Cannabis Mentor site. It
is definitely medically focused. Again, I like to talk to people my age. We all suffer from sleep issues. We all suffer from stress. We all suffer from pain. Our bodies just start falling apart. I don't want to tell you this because I know no one, when I was 30 something years old, people would say to me, I didn't give a shit. I wasn't going to listen. Didn't matter to me. Nothing hurt, right? Indestructible. Well, things hurt now a little more. and recovery takes longer, and pain is just more present. And I work with Dr. June Chin, who's a fantastic human and a wonderful integrative physician, and she's been prescribing cannabis for over 20 years and has treated over 10,000 people with it. She herself is a patient, which is amazing, and very research-based, very evidence-based. And she's come up with all these great protocols. And we started this, we met at a book tour, on book tour. She approached me, having read my book, and said, let's do something together. And I said, is it crazy, but should we start cannabis education for like healthcare providers or people who work in dispensaries? And she said, yeah, let's do it. So we made these courses, and they're in depth, and they cost some money. I'm a medical cannabis mentor, but we've got doctors taking them, pharmacists, nurses,
bud tenders,
dispensary workers. We do the education for a big multi-state operator called Columbia Care, soon to be in California. So that's great. I mean, we're training people in 70, 80 dispensaries, which makes me really happy. It makes the experience for people better if the person behind the counter knows a little something about the plant, or how to talk about it.
If the consumer knows a little something, then all of a sudden we have set the stage to have some smart dialogue.
That's the next goal, is to create, we're working with a tech company now to create an app that has the education in a really digestible, easy way. So here's my condition, here's my issue, here's different ways of taking it, here's different foods to eat with it, here's different exercise programs to eat with it, here's things to not take with it, here's things to avoid, here's how to avoid this food or that food. So we're working on that. If that's going to be the long haul, that's sort of my big ambition. Like that's, let's see if it happens. I mean, I'm hoping it's going to happen. We're just in the early stages. We haven't raised any money for it. We're actually looking for partners to pilot with. So if anybody in an organization out there wants to work with us on trying this out, we're doing it with a couple of small physician practice groups currently.
Okay. And
we'd like to do it with a larger organization, either a multi-state dispensary organization or, a single state operator, someone who wants to, bring this to the people, basically, And
is committed to, refining what this can look like and where it can go. And, the only thing that I have to say to all of the people that are creating these apps and whatnot is mind what you do with our business. People want me to sign up for an app, and I'm like, okay, we live in a pretty volatile time and cannabis is not federally legal. And you're wanting me to pile everything into an app of who I am, where I shop, what I buy, how much I consume, that's a lot of information. So what the fuck are you doing with it?
Well, ours is HIPAA compliant. Obviously, it has to be, right? Yeah. We are not interested in, well, you can't by law, right? I don't want to know the specifics of your illness, okay? Mm-hmm. But what is interesting is that if you can collect data for 100,000 people, say, you can really learn how to dose for pain if you're a woman premenstrual, if you're a woman postmenopausal, if you're a man of a certain age or overweight. You can figure this out. Technology allows us to do that, and that really is my dream, is that that we can help people live better, basically.
Absolutely, 100%.
So I'll tell you one more thing that's really interesting. So this guy who makes these great ginger snaps has been experimenting with a citrus peel extract, which I had never heard of, but did a little research on it, and it's been out there, and it is supposedly the best pain relief that money can buy. It doesn't have any cannabinoids in it. It's just a very high potency citrus peel extract.
So that's limonene, right?
You can do it from grapefruit. It is limonene. Yeah, a lot of limonene. It's highly anti-inflammatory. Mm-hmm. The anecdotal evidence I've heard has basically, it sounds a little too good to be true, but like people with high arthritis conditions put it on their joints. It alleviates the pain, and after several days, weeks, or months, I don't know exactly, it actually, you use less of it because the arthritis itself somehow heals
Well,
in the
yeah, your
body. Okay,
inflammation is down.
I know, but I
It's
don't
called,
understand it. Arthritis is it's the lack of synovial fluid in the joints, right? I'm not sure how this works, but maybe it is really that anti-inflammatory. So I've asked Chris to send me some of that, so I'm going to try it. And
nice.
this is where the cannabis journey gets really interesting, right? Somebody who knows something about extraction, reads something here, talk about citizen scientist, right?
Mm-hmm.
Tells a big mouth like me, I'm telling you, you'll tell somebody else, and suddenly people will start experimenting with this stuff. It's obviously it's not toxic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's not going to harm you like other things you could take. I mean, it might have other side effects, or it might contraindicate with certain other meds. But right now, I feel pretty confident that I would try that on my tired bones.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I love teasing my friends who don't really know a lot, and they just, consume edibles because they want to get high, or, they just smoke weed because they think they need to chill out. But I'm like, whether you like it or not, you're getting health benefits. So,
Well, it's interesting. Yes, it is interesting. And that's one of the other great things I learned in the last couple of years is that as opposed to a gateway drug, it is a gateway drug, but it can be a gateway to health, right?
yes.
Can be, not necessarily. I mean, you can overconsume anything. And
it can be your gateway to hell or your gateway to health.
Yeah,
your choice.
Exactly. A good way of putting it. Gateway to health, gateway to health. Yes, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Well,
This is
so
nice.
yeah, totally. So is there anything that I didn't ask you that would blow my mind that I need to know, Joe?
Oh, there are so many things about me, Joe, that are going to blow your mind. But I'm really happy to have these conversations. I'd love to have another one with you at a certain point. I like the casualness of it. No, I mean, I've said enough. How much more of me do you want to hear, right?
What else do you want from me, woman?
No, it's great. I appreciate this, and it's nice to talk to other people who are exploring the same topic from different points of view.
Yes.
I think you should talk to June, my partner, my doctor partner, because she's very involved in women's health and using cannabinoids for women's health. She's June Chin, Chin. You can look her up.
I have.
And I'll connect you to her. And she's a wonderful person, and she's a great spokesperson, and she's highly intelligent and full of heart, full of brain and full of heart. That's all I can tell you.
Awesome.
What more do you want from a healthcare?
You know what? That's exactly what I want. And I have had a listener that had messaged me and wanted me to talk about cannabis use and our hormones, and how it seems to be that our level of intoxication varies based on where we are in our cycle. And so I've been reaching out to try to find somebody to have that discussion with me. So she would be perfect.
She's perfect. There's a blog on the medicalcannabismentor.com site on this very topic, on cannabinoids and women's health. It's a long entry. You'll get a lot of information out of it. Check it out. But I'll connect you with June, and you can satisfy your listener who wants this information. How's that?
That sounds fantastic. And if you want more Joe Dolce, check out the Brave New Weed podcast, available wherever you're listening to this one right now.
Yeah.
Unless it's on YouTube. And do you live stream your shows? Are they on YouTube?
I haven't started that yet, but maybe you're going to educate me a little later about if I should do that or not.
All right.
We just keep it as an audio podcast, and there's always a book you can buy if you want to read a book.
I love reading books, and I have
too.
to tell you that Brave New Weed's been on my list, but I haven't read it. And now that I've talked to you, I'm excited to pick it up now and read it.
Okay, I'm hearing that as a firm commitment.
It's a firm commitment. Yes.
Excellent. And then when you do, I want you to call me back and tell me what you thought of it. Okay? Because I wrote it to be fun. I wrote it to be fun, and you will learn a lot about me in that book also.
All right, good deal.
You care.
Yes, I do care. And thank you, Joe with an E, for hanging out with me. And thank you all for tuning in to another episode of the podcast.
I loved it. Thank you, Joe.